Okay, so now we move on to the grouping method. And the grouping method is the next concept in factorizing. And question 1 is really just helping you revise the skills that you need to be able to do this, to apply this concept. So let's look at question 1. This is just, we did this in taking out the highest common factor. If you look at question 1, what you've got is x times y plus z plus 2 times y plus z. So you can see the y plus z there is the common factor. And so if we take out the y plus z to the front, treat it as one item. And what we have left over is the x and the plus 2. Okay, you're going to need this in applying, in learning the grouping method. So that's why it comes up here. Okay, the next one, take out n plus 5 as a common factor. And again, like this, open up a bracket and you're left with 2x plus 3. You don't have to have the square brackets the way I've done them here. I've done this for teaching purposes. If you like, you can very easily write this answer as y plus z times x plus 2. Just have normal brackets. In fact, this is how you see the answer in the back of the book. Okay, that's question 1, basically. I'll do question 1L just as a final question. So let's look at this. We've got 3a times p minus q minus 2 times p minus q. So what we have here is the p minus q is the common factor. So now if we take out p minus q to the front, what we're going to be left with is the 3a minus 2. Okay, and you're done. All right, that's question 1 on taking out the highest common factor. Let's move on now to the actual concept of grouping in pairs. Now, this name comes about because that's exactly what you're going to do. Okay, what you're going to do here, you can see you've got 4 terms. This is called 1 term, 2nd term, 3rd term, and 4th term. And what you're going to do, you're going to group the first 2 into a pair, and you're going to group the second 2 into a pair. What do we mean by that? Well, let's have a look. So if you look at the ax plus ay, what is the highest common factor that you can take out for the ax plus ay? Well, it's a. So you got a times x plus y. Plus, now the second pair, what can you take out? You can take out a b. And then you've got x plus y. Okay? So you factorize the first 2 terms, factorize the second 2 terms, and now you can see very clearly, based on what we learned previously, that the x plus y is a common factor. So your next step is going to be exactly what we did before, which is take out the x plus y as a common factor, and now you're going to have a plus b just in there. That's it. That's factorizing 4-term expressions. Let's look at the next one. Take out a as a common factor, and you're left with x plus 7. Plus take out b as a common factor, and you're left with x plus 7. When you're doing these questions, in the first line of working, you should end up with a common factor, just like here. The x plus 7 and the x plus 7. Okay. All right, so now, of course, what we're going to do, we're going to take out the x plus 7 as a common factor, open up a bracket, and you're left with a plus b. And that's complete. All right, let's now have a look at question 2e. So, let's look at the x cubed plus x squared. What is the highest common factor you can take out there? It's going to be x squared. You got x plus 1. Now, this is a good question because if you have a look, normally there's not much to factorize in x plus 1. Okay? There's not much to factorize in x plus 1. For example, if I just gave you a question at the beginning of this topic and I said factorize and I said factorize x plus 1, there really is, you can only take out a 1. Okay? But 1's a factor of everything, so you're not really doing much here. So you would never get this question on its own. However, because we're working on grouping in pairs, okay, so going back now to this question, because we're now working on grouping in pairs, you can see very clearly from the first two terms I've factorized, from the x cubed plus the x squared, x plus 1 has been one of the factors. So now, when you come to the second part of the question, when you come to this section over here, what you should do is just take out a 1. Okay? And the purpose of that is, now what you've got here is exactly what you're after to complete the question. Because you can see now that x plus 1 is actually a common factor. Let's take out x plus 1 now, and we're left with x squared plus 1. Very good question. Question 2F is very, very similar. Okay. So what I might do, I'll do 2F as well. So let's have a look. Take out A and do that. So we're left with B plus 1. So now for the next one, just take out a 1 and you're left with B plus 1. So B plus 1 now is the highest common factor. Open up brackets and we're left with A plus 1. I'll also do question 2D, because in question 2D there's quite a few negatives. I just want to make sure you don't make any mistakes here. So we can see now that from the first two terms, from these two terms here, that x squared is a common factor. So let's take out x squared, and we're left with 1 minus y. And now, from the next two terms, you can see that the z squared is the highest common factor. And that's perfect, because now we can take out 1 minus y. Okay, and your job's complete. All right, question 3 is more or less identical, just more practice questions. Question 4 is also very similar. Okay, let's just have a look at, question D, okay. So if we look at the first two terms together, you can take out p squared. No, you can't. You can only take out a p, and you can take out a q, okay? Then we're left with q minus p. So whenever you get the answer here, you should get one matching on the next two terms. So you can see 7 outside of q minus p, which is perfect, okay? So now we take out q minus p as a common factor, and we're left with pq plus 7. Okay, that's grouping in pairs. The questions can get harder, but if you understand this entire page, then it places you in an excellent position to even do the hardest questions. All right, thank you very much for this, and we'll move on to the next section.